In the pursuit of unwavering tranquility, many ponder, what if the true key to harmony lies not in external control, but in a profound understanding and management of one's inner world? Imagine a life where no external circumstance, no person or event can disrupt your inner equilibrium. Seems improbable, doesn't it? However, this isn't a utopia for the chosen few, but a perfectly attainable reality for everyone. Perhaps the search for peace has been misdirected all along. Society often imposes the notion that tranquility comes with success, recognition, or the avoidance of troubles. But what if the true source of peace has always resided within, awaiting discovery? What if inner chaos is merely a reflection of the state of mind, rather than the actual state of affairs? Perhaps the feeling of harmony was lost long ago, despite all attempts to convince oneself otherwise. The inner world is mired in an endless cycle of uncontrolled thoughts, suppressed emotions, and inexplicable emptiness. And the saddest part is that this state has come to seem normal. The belief that harmony is a privilege reserved only for the enlightened few condemns one to perpetual inner struggle. It's a common misconception that the inner world is something ephemeral and unattainable, synonymous with serenity and perfection. However, the truth is that the inner world is a unique interpretation of the surrounding reality. Objective reality, despite its seeming immutability, is merely a reflection of a person's internal state. As an example, consider a situation where two people encounter the same event, but one experiences deep shock, while the other remains calm. The reason lies not in the event itself, but in its interpretation. The human mind is like a filter shaped by beliefs, traumas, and subconscious patterns accumulated throughout life. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung once remarked, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." A person is, in essence, a prisoner of their mental programming. From early childhood, they absorb ideas, fears, and reactions which they subsequently perceive as their own. However, in most cases, these attitudes are imposed by parents, society, and life experiences. Every time a person reacts impulsively, succumbing to fear, anger, or sadness, it indicates that the traumatized inner child is still controlling their behavior. A logical question arises: how long will a person allow this inner child to govern their life? The overwhelming majority of people, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, rarely ponder the deeper questions of their existence. They seem to drift along, unconsciously repeating familiar patterns of behavior, repeatedly making the same mistakes and experiencing the same pain. In their view, life is a series of chaotic, uncontrollable events, and as long as they adhere to this viewpoint, they are doomed to remain captive to circumstances. True freedom lies not in attempts to control the external world and the events that occur, but in the ability to control one's reaction to them. This is where the path to inner balance and an unwavering inner world begins. It's not about denying or suppressing one's feelings and thoughts, but about observing them from the sidelines, not allowing them to define one's essence. After all, a person is not just a collection of thoughts and emotions, not the inner voice that sometimes torments them with doubts. A person is an observer, the awareness behind all this mental noise. Unfortunately, many forget this. And as long as a person identifies with every fleeting thought that visits their mind, they will remain at the mercy of chaos and confusion. The main secret lies not in eradicating negative emotions, but in ceasing the senseless struggle with them. By resisting, a person only fuels them with energy, endows them with power. By accepting them, they deprive them of their control, freeing themselves from their tenacious embrace. Consider the human mind as a full-flowing river, whose current is unstoppable. Attempts to halt this flow only lead to exhaustion. However, by learning to skillfully maneuver in this flow, a person realizes that they are not part of the water element, but rather an attentive observer standing on the shore. This is where the true strength of the individual lies. Achieving inner equilibrium lies not in striving for an ideal world, but in the ability to remain calm when external circumstances have no power over one's mental state. To achieve this harmony, it's necessary to practice mindfulness, that is, to live in the present moment without delving into painful memories of the past and without worrying about future fears. After all, the present is the only reality that exists. The mind constantly tries to draw a person into a whirlpool of doubts, obsessive thoughts and memories. But it's important to remember that a person is not just the sum of these thoughts. If one learns to perceive the mind as an instrument rather than as one's very essence, true freedom is attained. Emotional freedom is what is of paramount importance. The ancient Stoics understood this truth. It's not the events that happen to a person, but their reaction to them that determines the difference between suffering and peace, between the role of victim and control over the situation. Awareness of this fact allows one to understand that no one and nothing can deprive a person of inner peace. The world is not somewhere outside, but within each of us. It's only necessary to assert one's rights to this inner world. The question arises, will a person allow the hustle and bustle of the external world to dictate their internal state, or will they take control of the situation? However, there's an aspect that is often overlooked. True peace is not only a matter of perception, but also a matter of inner strength. It's not about dominating others, but about the ability to master one's own weaknesses and fears. It is at this point that many fail. The desire for harmony is universal, but few are willing to make the effort to achieve it. Do you know what is the worst enemy of your inner peace? It is distraction. And this includes not only social networks or external noise, it's about internal distraction, about the inability to be alone with oneself, about the obsessive need to fill every second with stimulation because silence evokes terror. Why is this happening? Because in silence the truth is revealed. The truth about who you really are, what you have been avoiding, and what fears you still carry within you. Most people are not ready for such a revelation. They distract themselves with noise, constant busyness, and endless activity, because when the world around them quiets down, their inner demons begin to speak. And this becomes an unbearable ordeal. But here's the secret. The only way to find true peace is to face this silence head-on, not to run away from it, not to drown it out. The inner world is not the absence of conflict, but the ability to remain calm in the midst of chaos. And this becomes possible only when you dare to look inside yourself without fear. Modern society is structured in such a way that deep self-analysis is not a priority. Numerous factors, such as the culture of consumption, the desire for approval from others, and constant busyness, divert a person's attention from their inner world. This creates a kind of trap that keeps people in a state of passivity and prevents them from realizing their potential. After all, by not finding time for self-knowledge, a person is deprived of the opportunity to unlock their true strength. In this situation, the ability to distance oneself from external circumstances and internal experiences plays a key role. To achieve inner harmony, it's necessary to learn to let go not only of past grievances and pain, but also of the desire to control everything around and expectations from life. It's resistance to reality that is the root of suffering. Most people are constantly fighting against what is. They dream of another world, of different behavior from others, of reality conforming to their desires. When these expectations are not met, disappointment sets in. People experience anger, irritation, and sadness. However, reality does not adapt to anyone's desires, therefore fighting against it is pointless. The secret of true resilience lies in the ability to accept the inevitable and direct energy towards what is within one's personal influence, one's own perception, emotional reactions, and internal state. This is where true strength lies, while everything else is just distracting noise. Refusing the obsessive desire for control frees a person from the position of victim of circumstances, giving them true freedom. However, letting go of control is no easy task, requiring a radical revision of life attitudes. It's important to realize that excessive attachment to external factors, be it people, public opinion, or desired results, is like chains that bind the individual. As long as this dependence on the external world remains, inner peace remains unattainable, and a person becomes a plaything in the hands of external events. The question arises, is the individual ready to let go of these shackles? Is he ready to abandon illusory control and accept life in all its unpredictability? After all, this is the path to liberation. And here all the elements come together in a single picture: the inner world, the ability to detach, and the conscious perception of reality point to a fundamental truth. Life is a mirror reflecting a person's internal state, not their desires. If there is chaos in the soul, then only disorder will be seen in the surrounding world. But if peace reigns within, then nothing can disturb this harmony. However, it's worth remembering that this peace is not found in external circumstances such as material well-being or approval from others. It is born from the ability to interpret events and make a conscious choice in favor of inner equilibrium. The real question is not about the search for peace, but about a person's willingness to stop resisting the flow of life and start living in harmony with it. When this happens, an amazing realization dawns. The desired peace has always resided within. It's only necessary to remove the obstacles that prevent its manifestation. The true test of inner peace lies not in serenity, but in the ability to maintain it during life's storms. It's easy to remain calm when life is going well. However, true peace is the state that a person maintains when everything around them is collapsing. It is at this stage that many fail, believing that peace comes with Nalajavanian personal relationships, achieving goals, or increasing material wealth. They naively believe that by bringing the external world into accordance with their desires, they will find long-awaited peace. But this is a fatal mistake. Until the inner world depends on external factors, it will never truly be one's own. There will always be something that the surrounding world can take away. This is where resilience comes to the rescue, the ability not only to endure pain, but also to transform it into personal growth, extracting benefit even from the darkest moments of life to become stronger, wiser, and freer. It is enough to look at people who have achieved unwavering inner peace. What unites them? Certainly not an easy life. They have all faced adversity, pain, and problems. However, instead of allowing these trials to break them, they used them as a stimulus for growth. This is the difference between drowning in problems and rising above them, in the ability to extract benefit from one's own pain. Finding harmony in life is not an escape from adversity, but a transformation of one's personal perception of that adversity. Life will undoubtedly test everyone because pain is an integral part of human existence. However, suffering is already a personal choice, stemming from the interpretation of what is happening. Faced with a painful experience, a person has two paths open to them: to allow the pain to break them, or to use it as a stimulus for personal growth. Unfortunately, many prefer to get bogged down in a whirlpool of resentment, self-pity, or fruitless memories of the past. But those who have a true understanding of life know how to transform pain into a powerful engine of self-development. They use it to become unshakable in the face of any trials. As an example, one can turn to the wisdom of nature. A forest needs fire to renew itself, and coal requires tremendous pressure to turn into a sparkling diamond. Man is no exception to this rule. What causes him suffering today may become a source of strength and resilience tomorrow if he can look at the situation from a different angle and ask himself the right question: How can I use this experience for my growth and development? And here lies the most important point. As soon as a person begins to perceive life in this way, a radical change occurs in their worldview. They cease to fear pain and resist the inevitable because they realize that they can turn any experience, even the most negative, into something valuable and useful for themselves. When there is nothing more to fear losing, when there is confidence that even in the most violent storm one can find a source of strength, then true peace comes. However, there is a serious obstacle on the path to change: a deep-rooted attachment to one's own identity. From early childhood, a person is instilled with the idea that they represent something definite, that their past life path and imposed labels are an integral part of them. Over time, this turns into a real prison, because when an individual is convinced that their I is only their story, they begin to desperately cling to it, carefully preserving their emotional wounds, past traumas, and outdated beliefs. And a logical question arises: who are they then without all this baggage? It is this question that throws most people into a state of panic. That is why many continue to repeat the same destructive patterns of behavior over and over again, even realizing their harm. A person's ego prefers the familiar, even if that familiar is suffering. But the truth is this: to achieve a genuine and unshakable inner world, one must be prepared for a kind of death. This is not about physical departure, but about psychological transformation. A person must let go of the version of themselves that is firmly stuck in the past, abandon the story that they have told themselves about who they are, and open themselves up to the possibility of becoming someone completely new. And this is certainly frightening because the ego feels undisguised hatred for any uncertainty. However, it is in this uncertainty that true freedom lies. When a person ceases to cling to a fixed identity, they are freed from the need to automatically react to external stimuli, cease to live in captivity to the same fears, destructive patterns of behavior, and imposed limitations. They become flexible, able to adapt to any circumstances, and, as a result, acquire unshakable inner resilience. Before our eyes, a genuine transformation of consciousness is unfolding. It is no longer about striving to subordinate every aspect of existence, but about wisely following the flow of life, while maintaining one's uniqueness and integrity. After all, life is not a battlefield where you need to win victories, but rather a majestic river along which we make our voyage. So are you finally ready to break free from the chains of the past, from the stories that hold you captive? Do you have the courage to stop seeing pain as only an enemy and start using it as a valuable tool for growth and self-knowledge? This is the fundamental difference between an existence full of torment and a life filled with harmony and peace. Ultimately, there remains only one question that is truly important. Will you continue to run away from yourself, or will you muster the courage to face your inner world and reclaim the power that has always rightfully belonged to you? On the path to finding inner peace, almost everyone falls into a treacherous trap, an obsession with control. Many sincerely believe that by subjugating their emotions, thoughts, and reactions, they will finally find long-awaited peace. It seems to them that by controlling others, circumstances, and even the future, they will be able to protect themselves from any shocks. However, the harsh truth of life is that the more you strive for control, the more suffering you experience. After all, control is just an illusion, a chimera that has nothing to do with reality. Human existence rarely follows pre-written scenarios. Those around do not always meet the expectations placed on them, and circumstances often turn out contrary to the plans made. Awareness of this fact brings a person closer to a state of harmony with the world. Many people, gripped by anxiety about the future, tormented by thoughts about public opinion, and afraid of being misunderstood, are in a state of permanent tension. They are constantly resisting, vainly trying to anticipate the course of events, thereby exhausting their vital forces in the pursuit of illusory, total control. The sooner the realization of the impossibility of such control comes, the faster liberation will come. True peace lies not in subjugating life to one's will, but in the unwavering confidence in one's ability to cope with any challenges of fate. This subtle but fundamental shift in worldview eliminates the need for guarantees and the obsessive idea that everything should happen according to a pre-established plan. Instead, an inner conviction develops that no matter what the vicissitudes of fate, there will always be a way to stand. However, a serious obstacle stands in the way of this goal: fear of uncertainty and the unknown future. It is this fear that keeps a person captive to the illusion of control, making them believe that careful planning, comprehensive analysis and preparation for any possible scenario will ensure safety. But in reality, such safety is unattainable. Life will invariably present surprises, and the more a person resists this, the more suffering awaits them. The secret of success lies not in running away from uncertainty, but in the ability to feel at ease in its embrace. The ancient Stoics understood this wisdom. Often people are thrown into confusion not by the events themselves, but by their personal interpretation of what is happening. Fear of the future stems from fabricated scenarios about possible disasters. The human mind is prone to creating problems out of thin air. However, accepting uncertainty can radically change one's worldview, because it is not an opponent, but a fertile ground for new opportunities. It is worth remembering the most vivid moments of life. Were there many flawlessly planned ones among them? Most likely, few. The most significant discoveries, the most valuable lessons, and deep transformations occur unexpectedly. And here comes the choice: continue to desperately cling to the illusion of control, or learn to fearlessly follow the flow of life. True peace lies not in striving to subdue every little thing, but in faith in one's own ability to adapt. However, self-confidence does not arise instantly. Internal dialogue plays a key role here. What is the point of accepting uncertainty if one's own mind has turned into an enemy? How can one find harmony when every thought becomes an act of self-flagellation? Many underestimate the influence of their inner voice, not realizing that the words addressed to themselves shape reality. If the inner dialogue is saturated with criticism, doubts, and negativity, a person is doomed to eternal struggle with themselves. Transforming the inner dialogue is the cornerstone of personal growth. If every mistake made is perceived as a crushing blow to self-esteem, then mental balance becomes an unattainable mirage. If after each failure there is not constructive analysis, but painful self-flagellation, then one can only dream of freedom. And if every gloomy thought is taken as an irrefutable truth instead of being subjected to critical reflection, then a person risks remaining forever captive to their own prejudices. The inner voice sounding in the head is not the voice of truth, but merely a reflection of ingrained beliefs, past experiences, and subconscious fears. However, paradoxically, this voice can be retuned and reprogrammed. A person is able to teach their mind to work in unison with their goals rather than against them. And when this moment comes, a radical transformation will occur, because genuine peace is not simply the absence of external shocks, but the ability to be in harmony with oneself and one's thoughts. So every person is faced with a choice: to allow their mind to become an impregnable prison or to turn it into a faithful ally. The peace sought is not in comprehensive control over external circumstances, but in the ability to live in harmony with oneself. This is the greatest power available to everyone. What does this ultimately mean? The world around us is not a given, but rather a creation that arises daily, formed by every thought and every decision made. It is a direct reflection of what a person allows into their consciousness, what they refuse, and how they interpret events. People often seek answers in the external world, overlooking the fact that the truth is always within themselves. They expect life to change for the better, while the only transformation that has genuine meaning is a change in the internal state. It is important to realize that no one will come to help from the outside. No mentor, book, or video can do the work for a person. The power to find inner peace is always in their own hands. The difference between those who experience suffering and those who find peace lies not in luck or favorable circumstances, but in how they manage what they have. What matters is how they make sense of their experience and what they believe about themselves. Thus, the key question is not whether a person is capable of achieving inner peace. The answer is unequivocally yes, they are capable. The question is whether they are willing to make the necessary effort to do so. After all, finding inner peace requires significant work on oneself. This process involves confronting oneself, revising established beliefs, and freeing oneself from the burden of the past. It requires acceptance of the present moment and getting rid of the fear of the future. Unfortunately, most people are not willing to pay such a price. They prefer to remain in their comfort zone, even if it means continuing internal conflict and disharmony. If the reader is still listening to these words, it means that in the depths of their soul there lives a premonition of another, more authentic life. They intuitively understand that true freedom grows not from external circumstances, but from the inner world. Before them lies a dilemma: to continue to go with the flow, allowing the external world to control emotions, reacting to every stimulus and becoming a hostage to their own thoughts, or to begin the path of transformation, step by step, from moment to moment. Every time they make a choice in favor of liberation instead of clinging, doubt instead of automatic reaction, observation instead of identification, they build the very peace they seek. The optimism lies in the fact that there is no need to languish in anticipation of a bright future. Transformation is possible here and now in this very moment. For the peace we seek exists not in the distant future, but in how we choose to live each moment. So, what choice will the reader make?